Alright, I'm not going to answer the questions yet. I just want you guys to tell me how you drew your Punnett square, because that should be done. What was the female's genotype? X what? Capital R, X lower R, because she's female heterozygous, red-eyed, and a red-eyed male?
Capital R, and then Y.
Okay, so when you filled it in, you said X, big R, X, big R, X little r,
X big R, and then Y, and X little R, Y.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and in my boxes write down the phenotypes because I think it's really helpful to do that, and you'll never have a question wrong if you do this right. So, girl, yeah, so female, and red eyes, good.
Girl, red eyes.
Girl, red eyes, because she's got those dominant alleles across the board here. Next one.
Guy, red eyes.
So, male, red eyes, and
Guy, white eyes.
male, white eyes. Because you've got the dominant allele here, that's representing the dominant trait of red, and then the recessive allele here representing the recessive trait of white. Okay, so what's the probability of having a white-eyed male?
25% chance.
Okay, so I understand we can say just one of the four is 1 of 4, which is 25%. So you can, if you explain it well enough, I can take both of these, but you can say 25% of all. I can spell of all here. Of all babies possible, or of the males, what's the percentage of having?
50.
Thank you, 50. So I'm gonna say 50% of males. Okay, that's how I can. If you explain it, I can take both answers. I can take you as long as you just have an explanation for it. All right. So B, white-eyed females.
0.
0. Because first of all, there's no. You're looking at the females. There's no white eyes, and overall, there's no white-eyed females. So that one's the easy one. That one's 0%. Because you'll know that both of them are red here. Red-eyed males.
25 of all.
So 25% of all, or you could say.
50% of boys.
Right, 50% of the males. You see how I'm distinguishing between the two there? Some of us are like, oh, I'm not quite sure. Okay. Let's do one more. D here. Red-eyed females.
100%.
So 50% of all the babies are going to be, of all 4, because 2 of 4 is going to be females that have red eyes. But what of the females, how many? Right, 100% of the females. And so that's just because of all the females, both of them have red eyes, so 2 of 2 is 100%. Okay, now let's go back and review all the types we've done. I want you to do it by drawing the really just craziest picture ever. For example, I have a picture of this lovely person, and I have listed all types of traits. The traits are all controlled by all the different types of inheritances we've done. So you know me, I like to draw, right? So I've got crazy green hair, and I said that was incomplete dominance. And I have an example of the genotype. Incomplete dominance for me was the heterozygous one, which was the blended trait. So if it's green hair, what would be the dominant trait? What would be the recessive trait?
The recessive trait would be lowercase h,
Of this one, I have big B, little b.
Oh,
so remember, incomplete
b.
dominance is a blended trait. So if I have green hair, what was it blended between? What color hair and what color hair? Yellow and blue, right? So blue may have been the big B, yellow would have been little b, and then I have a mixture there to show green hair. And so I've got examples for all of them. So I've got codominance, I've got sex linked, I've got blood type, dominant, recessive, incomplete. So that should be all of them we covered. Take 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, make up your own examples, go crazy, and you need to list the type of inheritance, have the phenotype be very evident so I'm not like guessing what I'm looking at here, and then give an example of the genotype. Go. In your notes. No. That would be too easy. I give you an example to see what I would like, but I don't want you to copy it because that's just. I'm not using it. Come up with something. You can draw a tiger, you can draw a raccoon, you can draw a bug, you can draw an alien, a whale, anything. I just drew a person. Draw a cat, vampire, plant, whatever you want to draw. On what we're doing tomorrow for our quiz, because what I'm going to give you is one of each of these types of examples, and then you're going to have to draw the Punnett squares and then answer questions based on it, okay? So, Yeah, a similar one. And I need to pull this up here. Let's do this other warm up here to make sure we're all clear. All right, so what type of inheritance pattern of all the types we've talked about is talking about or answers the question? The gene is located on the X chromosome. Shout it out. X-linked, sex-linked, right? Same thing. Good. Two dominant alleles exist. So again, co-dominance, where two dominants or both are dominant, they'd be co-dominants. Good. Allele is always expressed when it's in the genotype. Always expressed when it's in the genotype. Dominant, right? Because I could still be heterozygous, and that recessive one will never be expressed. So that'll be a dominant one. The dominant allele is not strong enough to hide the recessive allele. Right, because what happens when the heterozygous occurs? It doesn't show both. Well, no, the dominant allele is not strong enough to hide it, so there's some dominant there and some recessive, so it blends. I just want you to know the word blend that goes with that. So that would be incomplete dominance. More than two alleles exist. So not one, not two, but like three. No. Codominance is just like the large D or large S. Sex link is still just X's and Y's. We talked about yesterday. Blood type. What were the alleles in blood type? A, I, B, and little I. Good. So more than two alleles. That's what I'm talking about. Multiple alleles is blood type. Okay, and then the alleles only expressed when the individual is homozygous for it. Recessive. You feeling good?
Yeah.
Feeling it. Okay, let's talk about pedigrees. This is like, I love pedigrees because I get to talk about how you can like draw a family tree, and who doesn't want to draw a family tree? It's cool, right? So, well, you will today. All right, I'll come back to polygenic. I'll wait on you. Ready? I'll come back to polygenic. I'm gonna I have some people that already have warnings from yesterday, so you probably will have a detention today. Just let you know, okay? Thanks. All right, so, what is a pedigree? I kind of just told you.
It's a family tree.
It's a family tree, but and since we're in genetics, what do you think that family tree is going to show? Genotypes and phenotypes, right. So, what I need you to write, really briefly, similar to a family tree. And then I want you to draw these these shapes to represent the sexes of the individuals in the family tree. Because sometimes things are going to be inherited based on the sex. So I need you to be able to tell me, when I see a circle, it means female. When I see a square, it means male. And so this is something that you guys are already familiar with, because you're like, oh yeah, there's twins in my family. But it's every other generation twins show up, or every other generation blue eyes show up. So you already are somewhat familiar with this. It's nothing new. It's just now we're going to try to use some examples for it. I'll scroll this up in just a second so you can see some more information. So whenever it's a clear shape, it's a circular square, but it's clear, it means that person does not have the trait that we're looking for. So it might be, it's going to have to talk about what the traits are, but it means that they don't have it. When they're darkened in, it means that individual has the trait that we're looking for. It might be colorblind or something like that. Yeah.
Like we said about twins, like you have, because we're twins, and our dad was going to be a twin, and his uncle is a twin. So like, we not have twins, and it would skip, and then be all different.
And they say twins skip generations, but I mean I've seen where it's like, twins, no twins for 3 generations, and then twins for 3 more generations. So it doesn't exactly skip generations, but you could have twins still. Like I'm a twin, I could have twins. I don't know. We'll see. So, one thing I will say, remember how we remembered boy beakers and female flasks? Yeah?
Yeah.
So female flasks have a curve. Remember, females are the circles, curved. Trey, turn around. Boys, boxy like a beaker. Okay, that's how I'm going to remember these. All right, let's go through some more examples. So I'm just going to go through one for me. There's my mom. She's a circle. There's my dad. He's a square. Huh? No, they're not colored in. I just made it colorful. Excuse me? Something to add? Okay. Yeah. My great-grandmother from my mom's side. Okay, so whenever you draw a family tree, what you have to do is then draw this example, or you can draw an example for your own family. Do your immediate family, though, 'cause it's going to take you too long. You need to connect the two individuals that make offspring. So when you draw it, it has to be a circle and a square, and then connect them to show that they have mated, and what has been created from that mating, from that relationship, drops down like this to show that this next generation is coming from these people, and so that's why that line is connected. Now this line can be a mile long. It depends on how many offspring are made from that relationship. For this one, how many babies were made from that relationship?
2.
3, actually. So it looks like 2 because you show one down here and one down here, but it so happened that these 2 were made at exactly the same time, meaning they were twins, okay? So a lot of times if maybe you have 4 siblings in your family and nobody's twins, you'd have, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you drop down and make, circles and squares. But in this situation, it's in order of age, okay? You always start from the left to show the oldest, or, the firstborn, and go to the right to make the lastborn, the latest ones. You keep adding as you go as more babies are made. But for this special case, one fertilization event created 2 of exactly genetically the same offspring. So there's me. Oopsies. There's me, and then my sister. This connection here does not mean that we have mated. It means that we are genetically identical. Okay? So whenever it's like this and there's a connection in the middle, it means that they're identical. If you have a fraternal twin, you would not have this connection. Nor, well, no, you just wouldn't have the connection. The fertilization event and the fact that they're made at the same time is still true. It's just that connection's not there. And then obviously I have a younger brother. Okay? Okay, so if you've drawn yours or drawn mine, we're good. We know how to read these things. So let's say my brother gets married. What would I draw next to him?
A line.
Okay, so a line connecting him to a circle. Okay, so this is his wife. Okay, and let's say they have 4 babies. What do I draw?
4 lines. You would draw 4 lines and 2 circles. And
all right, so I'll come from the center first, right? Drop it down to the next generation, and then let's say he had 4 babies, 3 girls, and then finally 1 boy.
And draw the girl.
So 3 girls,
circles,
and then
1 square.
1 boy. Okay. So what if you got? Well, no, we're not going to go through divorce. If you got divorced, you just chop off that last, like this whole thing would be over. Somebody else. Okay. These are like some hints, because I can make you find all these hints by yourself, but I'd rather just tell you how to read them first, and then we'll go through an example. Write down the how to determine blah 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 right here. You need to know how to determine the inheritance just by like 2 seconds looking at the pedigree. You should be able to know. So you're writing down all this for me. Thank you very much. And then after this, we're just going to be identifying.
Will the pedigree be on the test?
Yes. I'm not on the quiz tomorrow. Because we're not on the test yet. You can abbreviate where you need to. So, you can create your own notes versus copying mine exactly. So, the important things that I'm seeing here is skip generation, recessive. And I've underlined it and, bolded it here for you. But if you can see that darkened square here, and then it skips a generation, and then it's here, down here, and another generation, and there's things in the middle, that means that trait is going to be hidden every other generation. Well, the only traits that can be hidden are those recessive ones. So then the opposite of that would be if it's found all the time, it's probably dominant. Because those are the ones that are going to be showing whether or not it's homozygous or heterozygous. Dominant?
Oh, after equal.
Autosomal. I'm going to get right there in a second, okay? Alright, so those are the dominant recessive ones. But if we see it happening a lot in males, remember yesterday I told you guys, you only have one X. Whatever's on that X chromosome, you have no choice. You have to express it. So if it's colorblindness or hemophilia or some other sex-related, sex-linked disorder, guys are going to show that more commonly than girls because girls have to inherit both X's with that disease allele. And that's just less likely going to happen. So if you see a lot of squares shaded in, it's probably a sex-linked disorder. But if you don't see a lot of males and you see equal males and females, it's probably going to be just autosomal. 1 second, Cole. I want to define autosomal one more time. Auto means self. And since we're talking about genetics, somal kind of refers to like chromosomal. So those are self chromosomes. Which chromosomes are determining all your body cells except for your sex? Chromosomes 1 through 22, right. So chromosomes numbers 1 through 22 are called your autosomes. So the sex-linked one is referring to which chromosome?
23.
Yeah, number 23. Chromosome pair number 23. That's the one that determines your sex. So we're going to call this autosomal inherited or sex inherited. Question?
Would it still be sex linked if it was mostly in females too?
No, because if it's mostly in females, it's going to be more common in males. Because that's just how the probabilities work out when you have the X chromosomes. All right, so looking here, I'm going to show you first example. You don't have to draw these, but I want you to look at a couple of these and practice. If you want to write anything down, go for it. But if you notice that it's, it's not colored in, not colored in, not colored in, and all of a sudden they show up. If it's not that common, it's going to have to be a recessive gene. How do I know it's autosomal recessive though?
Because it's colored in.
And autosomal. What did I say that meant?
Oh, cell chromosome.
So how do I know it's autosomal by looking at the picture? No, well, the no baby form has it means that it's recessive. How do I know the autosomal one?
Because it's
Well, how many are infected or affected?
2, 1 boy and 1 girl.
Right. So we've got a boy and a girl. So we have equal females and males affected by the disease. So that's how I know it's autosomal. Because if there's a lot of guys affected, I would say it's sex-linked. All right. So looking over here,
So if it's equal,
it's autosomal because it means that everybody can get it because it's just in the normal chromosomes. But if it's, like, for example, this one, we have a guy and a guy. So we have a lot more guys than we have girls. So that, to me, says sex-linked. And then you decide, is it recessive or or dominant?
recessive.
Definitely recessive because it's only showing up every other generation. And if it was dominant, guess what? It would be everybody, yeah. All the girls would have it too. Okay, and then looking here, how do you know that this one is autosomal dominant?
Because it's equal, and so it's not equal.
Well, it's almost equal though, right? So you've got girl, 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 and then guy, guy. Right, so it's showing up one in every generation. What every generation means autosomal or dominant?
Dominant.
Dominant. Every generation means dominant. But the fact that it's in a lot of girls and a lot of guys means it's not on the sex chromosomes, it's just in all the chromosomes. It's autosomal. And then you can see again, that's what we listed there for parents and children. I'm gonna skip this part here. Okay, look here. Raise your hand when you know. 1, is it dominant? 2, is it autosomal or sex-linked? So raise your hand when you know. Keep them up. Yeah, so you're telling me, is it recessive or dominant? And then is it X-linked or autosomal? Keep your hands up. I want to see more people here. So I want to take my pick. All right, Lauren, you tell me, is it recessive or dominant?
I think it's recessive.
Why?
Because the 2 girls with the 2 recessive makes it equal.
That equal part, though, is not related to the recessive or dominant.
I mean, that's the
That's the auto or sex. So tell me why you think it's recessive. Because you're right to say it's recessive. Because you can see it shaded in here, shaded in here, shaded in here. How do you know it's recessive? Add to it.
It's not in every generation.
Right, it skips generations, that means it's recessive. Janelle, add to, so we said it's recessive. Is it sex-linked or autosomal?
I think it's X-linked.
Autosomal.
It's autosomal
Autosomal.
because
Why?
Because it's mostly females.
Not mostly females, actually.
It's mostly males.
It's got, but we don't have a huge, listen for me. Listen for me. We don't have a huge discrepancy between guys and girls because you still have one girl and two guys. So, let's think about it. Let's try this first. If this mom has it, and you tell me it's sex-linked, what do moms give their boys? X's. If mom has it, let's just pretend it's X-linked, and someone's gonna put X little r, and she has it, and she has a male child right here, then he would have to show it. So sometimes it's not like, oh, go look at the picture, we're done. You got to think about it and try out two things or more and see if it works. Because if she has it, she has to give him the X little r allele, and the dad will give him the Y. And so he would be showing that sex-linked disorder. So that's why it can't be sex-linked, because she would have to pass it on. But we're right to say it's autosomal because, it's one male or two males and one female. But, we work it out, we try it, we see that it's not sex-linked, so it has to be autosomal. All right, see how that trial and error works? All right, so if it's autosomal, let's make up some phenotypes for this. If she's affected, give me an example of her genotype, Michael. Michael, if she's affected, give me an example of her autosomal genotype. Capital R what? That would mean that it's dominant, right? So that means that she has it. So we already said it was recessive because it's skipping every generation. Yeah, lowercase r, lowercase r. And I want to point out that is the best example, or one of the, it's very, very correct, because if it's not sex-linked, do not put X's and Y's. Okay? I can look at the picture and tell you if it's a guy or a girl. I don't need you to tell me XX, because I can tell it's a girl. You only put X's and Y's when you're talking about sex-linked disorders. Okay? All right. So then what would his genotype be?
Lowercase r, y.
Lowercase r. There we go. Lowercase r, lowercase r. So all these genotypes are the same because it's not sex-linked, it's autosomal, so they all look the same. Okay, moving on. This one, I didn't explain this actually before. When you see a half-shaded circle, it means they are a carrier, right? And so that's going to be telling you something kind of special. So raise your hand if you know, one, is it recessive or dominant, and two, is it autosomal or sex-linked? Is it recessive or dominant, or is it sex-linked, and is it sex-linked or autosomal?
It's recessive and no, it's autosomal because
Talk it out.
it's sex-linked.
Okay, raise your hand if you say it's dominant.
Yeah, raise your hand.
Raise your hand if you say it's dominant.
She said it, you said it.
Raise your hand if you say it's dominant.
It's
Okay.
recessive.
Let me tell you why it's not dominant. Okay. It's okay. It's the first time we've seen this, so it's not really kind to laugh at people, because I could laugh at all of you guys for not knowing a lot of stuff. Okay, so I will call you out for that. All right, so if it's dominant and this gene is passed on, we can't call that person a carrier, because if they're carrying the gene, ain't no choice. They have to express it, right? So we can't call them a carrier if it's dominant, because they would say, I have the disorder. So the only time that you can call something a carrier is if they're carrying an allele, but it's still hidden by a dominant allele. So that means it has to be recessive. So that's why the carriers exist, because they are hiding the allele and passing it on to the next generation. Now, who remembers, did we talk about carriers in autosomal stuff or in sex-linked stuff? Sex-linked. So that's why I was saying, moms are responsible for passing on color blindness to their sons, because they're the ones giving the X's to their sons. So that's just like basically you memorize that it was sex-linked due to the fact that only the females could be carriers. So we see carriers in females and females. All right, so how did she become a carrier? Her. Right, so what did dad pass to her?
He passed her the trait.
Not the trait.
No,
A little r. Now, so what would her genotype be then?
Capital R, big R.
Give me more.
Capital R, lowercase r.
What kind of
X R.
X?
Capital R.
Big R, X,
Little R.
little r. All right, what would his genotype be?
Capital X,
X, capital R,
and Y.
and Y. Okay, so backtrack. Then what is dad's?
Capital, X and little r, and then Y.
Y. So then what's mom's?
Capital R, capital R.
That's why he didn't even get it right.
Right. Because for the guy, who is he getting this X R
His
from?
mom.
His mom, and mom only has those to give. So if she was a carrier, first of all, she would be what color here?
Black.
Half shaded, right? So if she was a carrier, she'd have to show that on the pedigree, and also she'd be passing it on him, and he would be totally colored in. All right, so then go over here. What is her genotype?
Lowercase r,
So X,
lowercase
capital R, X, lower R, and then what's his genotype?
lowercase
Lower R,
and Y.
Y. So where did he get the lowercase R from?
From his dad. No, his mom.
His mom, because his dad, which is here, has what genotype?
Capital X, capital R, and Y.
And Y. And he got the Y from his dad. Because guys get Ys from dad. All right, let's do one more. You feeling this? It's like a puzzle. It's kind of fun. Okay, this one. Now, tell me, again, raise your hand, wait for it, dominant or recessive, and then sex-linked or autosomal. Raise your hand when you're ready. Raise your hand when you're ready. Thanks. I'm going to get something maybe from that side. Ashley, tell me what you think. Dominant, because why? What are you seeing?
It's in every generation.
Right, every generation, that means it's dominant. Sex-linked or not sex-linked? Isaiah, pick up on that. What'd she say? I don't know. You gotta listen. She says she thinks it's sex-linked. I want you to expand on that. Or what do you think? You what? Spit it out, man. Tell me. You really don't think what? I'm reading his mind. He said, I don't think it's sex-linked. Can you please pick up on that, Josh? Why? Right, we have how many males and how many females? 4 of each? 4 and 4. And so if it's in both of them, I would say it's autosomal more than it's likely to be sex-linked.
And it's like the second one, like,
This one?
yeah, that one. It doesn't pass on to the next.
Right, so it can't be that, right? So if we say it's dominant, give me an example of his genotype. Sam, his genotype.
I think it's dominant.
It's dominant because it shows up in every generation. Come on, Sam. Okay, so it's this or this, right? Let's see which one it is then. If he's passing on, she is passing on it to 1, 2, 3, 4 babies.
She has 2 lowercase r's.
Right, because if it's dominant and she has homozygous dominant, that means she's passing on a big R to how many of her babies? All of them. And if they all have it, then what would all colored shapes they be? Black shapes, right? So if she has a dominant, homozygous dominant, she would be passing it on big R, big R, big R, big R, big R, big R. That means everybody would be affected. So that means she can't be that, right? Because it's not showing up that much. So she has to be, yes, heterozygous. So she's still dominant though, because it's a dominant trait. So if she has that big R, she will show it. So what does this one have?
This one has big R and Y.
No, we're not doing X's and Y's.
Oh, big R and big R.
If it's big R, that means they would be shaded in because it's dominant.
No, yeah.
So little r, right? So this person has to be little r, because this is a,
Oh, because it's not the person.
right, because this, to be shaded in, means that you have a dominant allele. Because we said that this means dominant. So to be shaded in means you have a dominant allele. Well, that person's not shaded in, so they can't have a dominant allele. Rashawn, what does this person right here have then?
I'm confused.
Right, this person has big R, little r, because mom can pass on the big R, and she did, because that's why he's shaded in, but dad can only pass on the little r. Okay, what does this person right here have? little r. So this person, she got little r from mom and little r from dad. And the only reason I know that is because to be shaded in means you have the dominant allele. To be not shaded in means you have only recessives. Because we said it was a dominant trait that was passed on because we saw it was in every single generation. Okay, those are less likely to be seen like that, but I want to expose you to all types of pedigrees. Okay, next one. Everybody, recessive or dominant? Recessive, because it's not on every generation. Autosomal or sex? Probably autosomal, because you have equal sex is affected, right? So if you said it's recessive and you said it's autosomal, give me an example for this girl's genotype. We said
lowercase r.
lower R, because if it's not sex linked, I don't want you to be putting X's and Y's. I can tell you she's a girl because she's a circle. Like, you don't have to tell me XX. All right, if she's that, then what's he? Same. So what did both mom and dad have to have? Lower R and a lower R. But what was their other allele? Capital R, right. Because they had to have the little r's to be passing to their babies. But they don't show the trait, the recessive trait, so that means they can't be totally recessive. Thumbs up, you get this. All right, prove it to me. No, we're not going to do that one. We're not going to do that one. Okay, so take this pedigree activity. You're actually going to be drawing a huge family tree of these people. But before you do that, I need you to show me that you know how to do it, because the activity part is a little bit lengthy in terms of, like, you got to draw out a lot of stuff. I'm going to have you work with a partner on that. But before you do that, you're going to be doing a pedigree worksheet, which is just simply answering some more questions. Because some of you guys are helping me out, some of you guys weren't. I want to make sure we're all clear on this. Okay? So you can work up with a partner on this. You can spread out a little bit. I will ask for no one to go to the back station back there. You guys can sit in the front stations up here. So if you can find somebody, look at them now. Look at them. Okay? These are the people you're going to be working with for the next couple, let's say 45 minutes, okay? So, do the worksheet first, and then do the activity second. I'll give you paper for the activity, okay? So when you're ready, you have your person, come get me. Let's get a paper.
Yeah, but I will talk about this.
Alright, you should be settled in the next Write on your own paper, please. Write on your own paper, please. Write on your own paper, please. Okay, Stephen? Thank you. Hi, so notice in the back box. Thank you.
We're always no, I
What about you?
Number one is 5. Number one.